Broadcasting live from the mountains of Montana, get ready for an hour of pure, unapologetic conservative talk radio. Liberals beware, because this is the Wise Conservative Show.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Wise Conservative Show. I'm your host, Connor Wise. Now, if you notice, the title of this episode is The Dangers of Liberalism. And I did that for a reason. All of the stories that I'm going to talk about today show the dangers that the infection of liberalism in so many different sectors in our country, the dangers that it's caused and the effects that it's caused, and all the things that it's quite honestly done to our nation that's terrible. Now, I'm not saying that every liberal in the nation is a bad person. That's not what I'm trying to say. And I know that if I was saying that to some people, they would try to claim that. But if we actually are looking at a lot of the policies that have been implemented, or just the way systems have been functioning because of liberalism in America, we can see a lot of ill effects. Of course, one of which is our school system. Now, this is a little different. Usually I start with some actual issues like domestic policies that our president is trying to put into place. But I'm changing up the order a little bit today. I'm starting off with the topic of liberal indoctrination, which I usually put at the end of the show. And that's because I couldn't believe that I saw this. So you've probably seen it as well. A university professor, of course, in California, she called former First Lady Barbara Bush, who just passed away recently, an amazing racist who raised a war criminal. And she said that she's happy that the witch, referencing Barbara Bush, is dead. This woman who did this is Randa Jarrar. She's an author and a professor in the English department at California State University, Fresno, or Fresno State. She made the distasteful comments just an hour after the death of the former First Lady was announced. She tweeted out, quote, "Barbara Bush was a generous and smart and amazing racist who, along with her husband, raised a war criminal. F out of here with your nice words." Now, of course, George H.W. Bush said that he was brokenhearted over the loss of Barbara Bush. George W. Bush said that his mother was a fabulous First Lady and a woman unlike any other. But then the Fresno State professor apparently wasn't touched by any of these words. And, continued, saying, quote, "PSA, either you're against these POSs and their genocidal ways, or you're part of the problem. That's actually how simple this is. I'm happy the witch is dead. Can't wait for the rest of her family to fall to their demise the way 1.5 million Iraqis have." Now, of course, no one went on her side in any of the comments. No one was supporting her. I mean, she's crazy. People were attacking her, saying that this is just uncalled for. And then her last tweet that I'm going to read to you guys, that she read out that she tweeted out right before she switched to a private account, quote, "All the hate I'm getting almost made me forget how happy I am that George W. Bush is probably really sad right now." Now, I'm sure you guys have heard a lot about this. It was a big controversy the second it happened. Hundreds, if not thousands of people replied to her horrible tweets and called her out on it. And the thing is, I know that the majority of people aren't going to do this, and the majority of people didn't do this, especially we don't see anyone on the left doing this besides for her, basically. I'm sure there were others, but it was a very small minority. But it is important to talk about this, because she's not just any old person. She's not just someone who works at the McDonald's and serves you fries. She's teaching students at a university. She's teaching many classes, I'm sure, putting her opinions in the minds of all these impressionable students. And of course, the school system is liberal. We all know that. It's an uphill battle being a conservative in the school system. But when a professor is celebrating the death of a first lady, celebrating the fact that a former president is sad, celebrating the fact that a former first lady has passed away and saying that she's never been happier. That's not okay. And that shows just how far the liberalism within our school system has come. Because she's going to get away with this, folks. She's going to keep her job, and nothing's going to happen because she's a tenured professor. That's how far the system has come, because she won't get any punishment. And we've seen stuff like this before. We've seen professors make outrageous comments towards anyone on the right. We've seen professors make racist comments. We've seen professors make horrible and offensive comments towards people on the right, but it's okay because they're liberal. We've seen them call out students and fail students because the students were conservative, but it's okay because the professor is liberal. We've seen tweets, and we've seen these tantrums in the middle of class. We've all heard them joke about Donald Trump before class. But it's okay because they're liberal. You see, we have a school system that doesn't punish you if you're a professor that's liberal. We have a school system that allows you to get away with anything as long as you're on the same political side as them. And that's not okay. I've said this before, and I'm going to continue to say it. The school system should accept all viewpoints and actually have a discussion on it. It shouldn't block out the conservative viewpoint and at the same time force the liberal viewpoint down your throat. That shouldn't be happening. But that's what's happening. I guarantee this professor goes into her class and talks to all her students about how she's happy that this is happening, about how she wishes that we had Hillary Clinton or Bernie Sanders in office right now, about how she thinks that President Trump isn't fit to be president. I guarantee that she goes to her classes and she says that kind of thing. Because that has been normalized in our school system. Whether it's a university, a high school, middle school, an elementary school, whatever school it is, the teachers are doing this. We all know that we saw elementary school teachers forcing their kids to walk out against guns. We all know that we've seen teachers in just about any grade imaginable talking trash about our current president. This liberal indoctrination within our school system is a huge issue, and it's one of the dangers of liberalism. Because the thing is, they don't see what's wrong. She continually defended her comments, continually defended the fact that she was happy about this, not even noticing that anything was wrong with it. That's the problem. They don't know that something is wrong with this. They don't understand that this shouldn't be happening. That's where the danger comes in. Because if they don't understand that this shouldn't be happening, then they're going to continue and they're going to make it even more severe. Because they don't think there should be repercussions. And that's why every college professor that I've ever had has made a joke about Donald Trump. Has said some comments about how conservatism in our current administration is terrible. And that's how they get away with it. But moving on to high school, I don't know if you've seen this or not, but this also is something that has actually been happening for quite a while now, and that's textbooks being written in a biased way. Well, now Pearson Education, who, if you don't know, they write the majority of textbooks that high schools use, especially in AP classes. Well, in their most recent U.S. history textbook, it was very biased against President Trump. It labeled him as mentally ill and his supporters as a bunch of poor white hillbillies. Now, it actually said, quote, Clinton's supporters feared that the election had been determined by people who were afraid of a rapidly developing ethnic diversity of the country. They also worried about the mental instability of the president-elect and the anger that he and his supporters brought the nation. Now, I can see how that could pass because it's just talking about what Clinton supporters wanted. Keep in mind, though, it doesn't give what the Trump supporters were thinking. Well, then it continued, saying, quote, saying that President Trump as an extremist and that his, quote, not very hidden racism connected with a significant number of primary voters. It continued, Trump supporters saw the vote as a victory for people who, like themselves, had been forgotten in a fast-changing America. A mostly older, often rural, or suburban, an overwhelmingly white group. Now, the Pearson spokesman said that the textbook underwent rigorous peer review to ensure academic integrity. And then, quote, it was designed to convey college-level information to high school students and aims to promote debate and critical thinking by presenting multiple sides of the 2016 election. See, if that's what actually happened, there wouldn't be a story about this. I wouldn't be talking to you guys about this. If it actually showed both sides, if it showed viewpoints from Clinton supporters and from Trump supporters, then it'd be okay. That's what should be happening. But it didn't do that. No, it showed viewpoints and stated them as facts from the Clinton supporters. Period. It didn't show both sides. It didn't give information to promote debate and critical thinking. The only way that this conveyed college-level information was showing a biased liberal viewpoint. But that's not what our students in high school should be learning in AP/US classes. They shouldn't be learning the fact that their current president is mentally unstable. They shouldn't be learning the lies that the left have been promoting day in and day out since President Trump was elected. They shouldn't be learning the fact that only old white racist voters came out in support of President Trump. Because that is objectively false. You see, the left has been putting their opinions into all of these different issues and presenting them as facts. They've been presenting their opinions as facts, their lies as facts, and now they're trying to promote it, their lies, their deception, their opinions, as history. That's not how it should be working, but because our school system is so liberal and so biased, they're going to get away with it. Because according to them, this is showing both sides. But it's not. According to them, this is exactly how the election happened, and this is the only thing that you need to know. But it's not. You see, these people that are designing these textbooks, that are presenting these textbooks to their classes, the majority of them are going to be liberal. That's just a fact. That's the school system. But that doesn't give them a right to ignore the fact that not everyone that supports Donald Trump is a racist. That Donald Trump reaches out to more than just the KKK. And furthermore, that he denounced the KKK and denounced their support for him. That he actually was there for the common American, for the blue-collared workers, for the people that the left has been ignoring. And that's why he was able to break the blue wall in the previous election. Because he didn't just represent one small faction of Americans. He represented a huge base of Americans, the majority of Americans. But when the left is in control of the textbooks, when the left is in control of the school system, this can pass as facts. And this will be taught as facts because of them. Now, it might not actually be fact. We all know that. All of us who have actually paid attention to the world, who have looked at the facts of everything, who have actually learned about the election, about what happened, we know that that's not fact. But now our nation's youth is going to learn that it is, because of the bias of liberal indoctrination within our school system. It's outrageous, folks. All right, I'm going to be right back. I'm going to take a quick commercial break. Don't go anywhere. This is the Wise Conservative Show.
Hey everybody, Connor Wise here with an exclusive clip from the Wise Conservative Show. Don't go anywhere, I'll be right back. But on certain universities, you have these zones which are free speech zones. You have to get permits just to hand out the constitutions to students. You can't say what you want. If you say anything that's conservative, you're automatically deemed as a racist, as a bigot, and not fit to be at the university. Not fit to be in any leadership position.
Calling all young conservatives. Have you ever wanted to write for an online publication? What about host your own conservative radio program? Now you can, thanks to youthrevolt.org. Youth Revolt is a conservative media network for young people, the goal of which is to educate our fellow Americans and also to expose the left-wing indoctrination that goes on in classrooms across the country. Become part of a team that is dedicated to taking the country back, one radio program or opinion column at a time. If you're interested, go to youthrevolt.org and click on Join Us on the top of the page. Fill out our brief questionnaire, and one of our representatives will be in touch with you in no time at all. The time to reclaim our future is now. Be a part of something that's bigger than yourself, and join the movement today. Youth Revolt. Speak without fear.
America is known for its expansive wilderness for all to explore, and for many, that exploration is an important hobby. This exploration is why the Survivalist was created. On this blog, you will find expansive information on all things wilderness, from what knife you should carry to what backpack gives you the best bang for your buck. This group of 4 writers has created a very diversified and useful site, which I personally recommend. The site has given me much knowledge on a variety of topics, and I urge you to check it out at the-survivalist.weebly.com. Once again, that is the-survivalist.weebly.com.
I was assuming that it meant coverage, but if he says that there's a small group of people who understood what it was, so I'm like, what is it? What is confetti?
It gets 2 scoops. You know, everyone around the table gets 1, and no word if there were sprinkles.
He paid $38 million, looks like $38 million in taxes.
Are you tired of listening to the snowflake liberal media report about ice cream scoops and typos instead of real facts? Well, at the Wise Conservative Show, we promise you that we will not report about Kofifi, but instead about the truth. Instead, about the facts about what's going on in our nation. Join us every Wednesday at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on the Wise Conservative Show for your dose of unapologetic conservative talk radio. The Wise Conservative Show, only on Youth Revolt.
Ever wanted to learn the history of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict in less than 10 minutes? Are you looking for the truth about the so-called gender wage gap? Well, my friends, I'll let you in on a little secret. Prager University is a source that I use all the time when preparing for my show, the Jason Veely Program. Dennis Prager and his team have put together a remarkable organization that seeks to explain and spread Americanism through the power of the internet. Their short yet extremely informative videos reach more than 100 million people per year, and they want to reach you as well. Go on YouTube and type in Prager University, or go to prageru.com for all of their latest content. That's Prager, the letter U.com. prageru.com.
A well-regulated militia, being necessary to the security of a free state. The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. There are people in this nation that would have you give up your rights, that would have you turn in your guns. We have these people who are in office, we have these people who are marching in our streets that are walking out of their schools. People who think that your right is not important. On the Wise Conservative Show, we know that your rights matter, and we will tell you the truth about your liberties. We will tell you the truth about all the issues happening and the facts around all of these debates. For for your daily dose of conservatism, for your daily dose of the facts and the truth. Tune into the Wise Conservative Show every Wednesday at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, only on Youth Revolt.
Welcome back to the Wise Conservative Show. I am your host, Connor Wise. So, we're sticking with the same topic, of course, of the dangers of liberalism. We're switching a little bit in terms of the gears here, though. So, the DHS, Department of Homeland Security, it just revealed the numbers of the members of MS-13 and other gangs that were released by sanctuary policies. Now, these numbers are actually kind of scary. And we already know that these sanctuary policies are terrible for our nation. We know that they're hurtful to our cities, to our counties, to our states. And we know that they shouldn't be in place. Well, these numbers are just backing it up. Now, these are the number of gang members released due to sanctuary policies by the state from October 1st, 2016, all the way to June 19th, 2017. Now, these numbers do range quite a bit, and you'll notice that one state really stands out in terms of the numbers here. But let's just go down the list. I believe this list is alphabetical. So starting off with Arizona, they have 1 gang member. California has 89. Illinois, 3, Louisiana, 2, Maryland, 13, Minnesota, 1, New Jersey, 2, New Mexico, 2, New York, 4, Oregon, 2, Rhode Island, 1, Texas, 11, and Washington, 11. Now, if you didn't notice, one of those states kind of stood out there, and that's California. 89 gang members, the majority of which are members of MS-13, the most deadly gang in American history. 89 of them were released back into civilization, back into society, because they didn't want to deport illegals. Because they didn't want criminals to go back to where they came from. They didn't want to get criminals out of our nation. So they let them back onto our streets. They let them back to where our loved ones are walking around, back into our communities. Because that's always a good way to keep crime from happening. That's always a good way to keep our cities safe. See, these policies that California has enacted and all these other places have enacted, they're hurtful to our communities. Very hurtful. And these numbers prove it. Now, New York isn't where there's a lot of members of MS-13, obviously. So they're not going to have as many people released. But they have the same exact policies as California. All of these policies are very hurtful. All of these policies let criminals back onto the streets, and they put our loved ones in danger. I guarantee that these 89 gang members that were released are going to continue to be in gangs. Now, it's just common sense. Of course they're going to continue to be in gangs. I guarantee that these 89 gang members are going to commit more crimes. And I guarantee that at least some of these 89 gang members that California released, at least some of them are going to murder someone else. Especially those that are members of MS-13, who are very brutal and savage in their ways. I guarantee that we will see more murders just like Kate Steinle in San Francisco that go without justice because of these sanctuary city policies. Sanctuary state in this case. I guarantee that the left will defend these gang members and will defend these criminals because they're here illegally instead of defending the innocent victims just like they have in the past. And I guarantee that Jerry Brown will give some speech after this happens and has made a big deal. He'll give some speech saying that America and California is a place that welcomes all immigrants, and then he'll put in place some other policy to counteract the federal government in their efforts to deport these criminals. All of this is going to happen because of the delusion that the left cares about people more than the right. Because that's what they base these policies on. That's what they always tell you. They always say, oh, we care about these immigrants more than the right, so we're going to keep them from being deported. That's what they say. But they never explain why they care about these criminals and why these criminals should be accepted into society when they continue to commit crimes. They never explain why. And I've said this before, folks. It's because they want more votes. They obviously are pushing for illegal immigrants to be voting. We've heard President Obama say it. We've heard Jerry Brown say it. We've heard Dianne Feinstein say it. We've heard countless number of Democrats say it. We've heard them urge illegals to go into voting booths and vote. And that's why they want them here. That's not why they're fighting so full-heartedly against the deportation right now. They're fighting so hard against the efforts by ICE right now because President Trump ordered them to do it. And so when you get the combination of them wanting these illegal votes and them wanting to yell and scream and act like a baby about everything that President Trump does, you get dangerous policies put into place. You get dangerous politicians thinking that they're better than everyone else and implementing these policies that don't put them in danger, but put their citizens and their constituents in danger. But they're okay. Because they're not the ones in danger. They're not the ones that are going to be murdered by these illegals. They're going to be brutally attacked. They're going to be robbed by these illegals. It's not going to happen to these politicians. So why should they care? These policies in California obviously are detrimental to the society in California. They're detrimental to the citizens. They're detrimental to the overall well-being of the state. And that's why we see so many cities and counties hopping on board with the federal lawsuit against California's sanctuary city policies. I have the list here of all of the cities and counties that have jumped on board with this lawsuit. Starting off with Los Alamitos, Hesperia, Orange County, Mission Viejo, Huntington Beach, Escondido, Fountain Valley, Aliso Viejo, Orange, Newport Beach, Westminster, San Juan Capistrano, and most recently, just hopping on this past week, San Diego County. This list is still growing for good reason. Now, when it just started off, it was Orange County. And if you know anything about California, you know that Orange County is definitely one of the most conservative areas in California. So people disregarded it. They said, oh, that's just Orange County. That's where all the rich white conservatives live. It doesn't mean anything to the majority of the state. But we have the ultra-liberal county of San Diego and countless other cities. Because they know that illegals shouldn't come before the citizens of the United States. And that's what's happening. What's happening right now is the California government is forcing cities, forcing law enforcement to not turn over criminals to the federal government. And what that translates to are federal law enforcement or local law enforcement agents. These officers have to let these illegals, these criminals go. They can't write them up on crimes because if they do, ICE will come and deport them. So what they do is they just leave them on the streets. They don't arrest them. They don't give them tickets. They don't report any of their crimes because they're not allowed to by the state. Jerry Brown and his administration won't allow them to. So, of course, we're going to see all these people jumping on board, trying to protect their citizens, trying to protect their local communities. Because when these criminals are out there on the streets, it doesn't help anyone. All it does is put a city, a county, everyone in danger. There's no benefit to this to the majority of people. And that's why we see all these cities, all these counties jumping on board with the lawsuit. This lawsuit that is very justified, that is necessary. And San Diego County, the one that just jumped on, they're the biggest county thus far to actually back the lawsuit, to jump on board with it. And that's because they know, especially in San Diego, which is right there by the border, they know that these illegal immigrants are bad for not only their safety, but also their economical well-being. They know that. But moving on to something else that has been dangerous because of the fact that liberalism is spreading more lies. So, rumors are being spread by left-leaning groups. They're alleging that President Trump is going to fire Special Counsel Robert Mueller. And they've begun prompting official action. So just recently, Pittsburgh's police department is preparing for the eventuality, or what these rumors are saying is the eventuality, that our commander-in-chief is going to fire the special counsel, which, of course, President Trump has said will never come. Pittsburgh Police Commander Victor Joseph sent out an email to officers just today saying, quote, "There is a belief that President Trump will soon move to fire Special Counselor Prosecutor Mueller, which, quote, would result in a large protest within 24 hours of the firing. Based on this information, beginning tomorrow, April 19th, all major crime detectives are required to bring a full uniform and any issued protective equipment with them to work until further notice." And in parentheses next to equipment, he put riot gear. Joseph said that the protest could happen in the city's central business district, and it was not clear how Pittsburgh police reached their belief that Trump would fire Mueller, but it's reported by local news. They're confirming the order with the Pittsburgh mayor, and he said that the preparations were only precautionary. The Pittsburgh Public Safety Director, Wendell Hisrick, said, quote, "The Pittsburgh Bureau of Police receives information daily that we evaluate and prepare for if the event should occur. Events can include anything from extreme weather to potential demonstrations." They continued, quote, "Often the events we prepare for do not occur. However, through an abundance of caution, we attempt to adequately prepare for an appropriate response. We receive information regularly about potential events and or threats, assess the credibility of the information, and plan for a potential event. In this case, we have not assessed the credibility of the potential for disturbances, and we do not have any knowledge of the president's decision-making process." So, basically what's happening, just to break this down for you guys, we have these liberal groups in Pittsburgh and across the nation, Antifa, Black Lives Matters, all of these groups like that. We have them spreading word, and like MoveOn.org, even, more mainstream groups like MoveOn.org have been spreading these rumors. So it's very prominent in the liberal community. But they've been spreading these rumors that President Trump is going to fire Mueller, and that when he does this, because in their mind, that'll be an obstruction of justice, that when he, not if he does this, that they must riot, that they must attack the Trump administration. And these are becoming normalized thoughts in the liberal community, that they must riot. Because apparently that's the only reaction that groups like Black Lives Matters and Antifa can do. And so, without any actual information and actually going against what President Trump said, they're preparing to riot against the police, against their own businesses. Even though that won't achieve anything. But that's the left. You see, they portray these events and then they build them up. They build up these events to make them drastic. They always claim that conservatives are fear-mongers. But if you look at everything that the left has done since President Trump took office, that is class act fear-mongering. President Trump is being controlled by Putin. We need to rebel against him. We need to make sure that Putin doesn't control our nation. Fear-mongering. President Trump is going to start World War III because he bombed Syria. Fear-mongering. President Trump is going to obstruct justice. We need to attack his administration. More fear-mongering, trying to cause violence. That's all they've been doing since President Trump was elected. Trying to cause violence in our own nation. Because I think they feel like if they cause violence during President Trump's administration, during his time in office, that he will be viewed as a bad president because there was so much violence. Or that it'll show that the majority of Americans don't want him in office. That he wasn't truly elected. I don't know what they're trying to prove, but one of these outrageous ideas has to be it. For some reason, these large leftist groups, because they have a lot of backing now, these large leftist groups think that rioting is going to solve every problem in our nation, and they're prepared to destroy their own communities to do it. They're prepared to put police officers and family members' lives in danger because they can't agree with our president politically. That's one of the extreme dangers that is currently being posed in America because of liberalism. Because of the viewpoint, the mindset that current day leftism has brought to America. It's dangerous. They're trying to riot over every little thing. They're trying to burn down businesses, loot these businesses, destroy cop cars, attack police officers because they disagree politically. It's dangerous. It's not called for. It's outrageous. But it's what the left is becoming in today's society. It shouldn't be happening. No political group should ever feel the need to destroy their own communities just because they didn't win an election. But that's what's been happening. And I don't understand why they continue to do it. I'm going to take one last quick commercial break. Don't go anywhere. This is the Wise Conservative Show.
Hey everybody, Connor Wise here with an exclusive clip from the Wise Conservative Show. Don't go anywhere, I'll be right back. And that's how a government should be run, folks. You can't legislate based on emotion, based on morality. You have to legislate based on the truth and the facts. It's something that Democrats seem to have struggled with, and it's something that they continue to struggle with when it comes to the immigration debate. Have you ever wanted to stand up to your liberal professor? Have you ever wanted to help expand the conservative movement? Well, it sounds like you would be a perfect fit for Youth Revolt. Youth Revolt is a team of dedicated young conservatives fighting liberal indoctrination within our school system. If you're interested in being a part of this team by being a columnist or even hosting your own radio show, go ahead and click the Join Now tab at the top of youthrevolt.org. You'll be asked to answer a few questions, and a Youth Revolt team member will respond to you quickly. Be a part of something bigger than you. Be a part of Youth Revolt. Speak without fear.
Ever wanted to learn the history of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict in less than 10 minutes? Are you looking for the truth about the so-called gender wage gap? Well, my friends, I'll let you in on a little secret. Prager University is a source that I use all the time when preparing for my show, the Jason Veely Program. Dennis Prager and his team have put together a remarkable organization that seeks to explain and spread Americanism through the power of the internet. Their short yet extremely informative videos reach more than 100 million people per year, and they want to reach you as well. Go on YouTube and type in Prager University, or go to prageru.com for all of their latest content. That's Prager, the letter U.com. prageru.com.
Hey everybody, Connor Wise here with an exclusive clip from the Wise Conservative Show. Don't go anywhere, I'll be right back. But on certain universities, you have these zones which are free speech zones. You have to get permits just to hand out the constitutions to students. You can't say what you want. If you say anything that's conservative, you're automatically deemed as a racist, as a bigot, and not fit to be at the university. Not fit to be in any leadership position.
And that, class, is why America is the worst country in the history of the world.
Are you sick of your professors telling you lies?
Now remember, children, if you're white, it means you're privileged. Don't ever forget that.
Do you sit through class convinced that your head is going to explode at any given moment? Sounds like you could use some backup. Visit youthrevolt.org for exclusive content produced by young conservatives for young conservatives. Youth Revolt features a dedicated team of radio hosts, political columnists, and video bloggers, all of whom are 100% committed to taking back the future of this country. So what are you waiting for? Tune out your Marxist professor and visit youthrevolt.org now.
A well-regulated militia, being necessary to the security of a free state. The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. There are people in this nation that would have you give up your rights, that would have you turn in your guns. We have these people who are in office, we have these people who are marching in our streets, that are walking out of their schools. People who think that your right is not important. On the Wise Conservative Show, we know that your rights matter, and we will tell you the truth about your liberties. We will tell you the truth about all the issues happening and the facts around all of these debates. For your daily dose of conservatism, for your daily dose of the facts and the truth. Tune into the Wise Conservative Show every Wednesday at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, only on Youth Revolt.
Welcome back to the Wise Conservative Show. I'm your host, Connor Wise. Now, for this last segment, of course, we're sticking with the topic of the dangers of liberalism. Now, Andrew Cuomo, of course, the governor of New York, he's definitely very liberal. Well, he was speaking to Al Sharpton's National Action Network conference, which was held in Manhattan, New York. And while he ripped the Trump administration and questioned the intensity of the pro-Trump vote. Now, Cuomo, of course, a Democrat, he told the Midtown audience that MLK Jr. would, quote, lament what has happened in this federal administration. He said the Trump White House is, quote, extreme and conservative because they won't compromise. And he continued, they want to take what they believe and impose it on you. That is not just anti-democratic, that is anti-American. Oh, he said the king would agree that President Donald Trump and his cabinet are repugnant and anti-immigrant, anti-woman, anti-gun safety, anti-equality, anti-environment, and anti-inclusion. So, basically, at this point, there's more that he said, but I'll get to it in a second. At this point, he's saying that everything President Trump has said and that his administration does is racist, sexist, Islamophobic, anti-immigrant, all these different ists that liberals generally call the conservative community. And I want to really talk about this. They want to take what they believe and impose it on you. I find it hilarious that he says this about conservatives when one of the main tenets of conservatism is giving people freedom. One of the main tenets of conservatism is saying that people have the freedom to choose what they want and to believe what they want. We're not trying to force everyone to be conservative in the nation. But that seems what liberalism is trying to do. From liberal indoctrination to controlling the majority of news networks to lying about everything that our administration does. Seems like they're trying to really convince everyone to be liberal these days. If you don't think the same way as them on college campuses, you're disregarded and excluded from things. It's not conservatives that try and force viewpoints on people. We don't go to college campuses and have professors force people to think a certain way or else they fail them. That's not what conservatives do. That is what liberals do. See, again, this is going back to the very first problem and danger that we talked about in the beginning of this episode of liberalism. And what makes it so dangerous. They don't know that what they do is actually happening. They don't know that they're doing this because they just ignore it when they do it. They just ignore the fact that they're trying to force their viewpoint on other people. They just view that as normal. And then they blame us for it. And then they say that we're anti-democratic and anti-American. But last time I checked, it's conservatives who want to impose voter fraud laws so that we don't have to, deal with the fact that there are illegals voting. That's protecting, well, technically we're not a democracy, we're a republic, but that's protecting our voting, which is what he's going after here. And anti-American, the entire campaign for President Trump was based on making America great. That's not anti-American, that's the most pro-American campaign since Ronald Reagan, who originally used that slogan. He's delusional, just like so many different leftists. Okay, but then he continued. He said that Trump and the Republicans nationwide did not win the 2016 election, but he did say the Democrats lost. He went on to say, quote, "I don't believe anyone ran into the voting booth saying, 'I can't wait to vote for Mr. Trump. Boy, I feel good about this.'" He called Trump's economic platform a fantasy, and he said that no nation's economy can successfully go backwards, which apparently was a reference to President Trump's call to bring jobs back and to go back to the good old days when America was prospering. So, by saying that, he doesn't believe that our economy can go backwards. He doesn't believe that our economy can go back to more jobs, that can go back to the days when it was prospering. Because, well, in the policies that Democrats want to implement, no, the economy can't thrive. The economy can't succeed. When you take away free market policies, the economy is not going to succeed. But we've seen under President Trump, the economy already skyrocketed and the stock market skyrocketed. We've hit records after records and we've added thousands upon thousands of jobs. Unemployment of minorities is at the lowest in history. Yeah, our economy is great. And it's all because of the conservative principles of President Trump in the economy. It's because of the free market. Yeah, President Trump isn't the perfect conservative. He's definitely not my first choice for president of the 2016 election. And if you've been listening to my show for a long time, you know that. But he's a conservative nonetheless. And when I voted for President Trump, then Mr. Trump, I was definitely excited to vote for him over Hillary Clinton, who would have destroyed our nation. And I guarantee you right now, if we had elected Hillary Clinton to office, that we would have immense gun control already. Guns would be being taken away from citizens. Death would be ensuing because people aren't going to try and give up their guns, folks. If Hillary Clinton was elected, we'd be at war with other nations, probably with Russia, because she's a war hawk and always has been. our economy would still be in the drains. We wouldn't have records being hit in terms of highs in the stock market, maybe record lows. And, oh yeah, in terms of healthcare, we'd probably be switching to some form of universal healthcare as soon as possible. And if she couldn't get this through Senate and Congress, she would do an executive order just like President Obama. So yeah, I'm glad and I'm happy that I voted for Donald Trump over Hillary Clinton. Kumo is very delusional and out of touch with reality. I've said this about a lot of leftists who speak out. And that's because it's just the truth. They don't live in reality and they don't look at the actual facts. They don't look at the fact that, yeah, America voted in a landmark election, a landmark victory. He broke the blue wall. He got voter turnout better than previous elections in terms of minorities for Republicans. President Trump ran a great campaign. You have to give him that. And he's a tremendous candidate and tremendous president compared to what Hillary Clinton would have been. Kumo and the rest of the Democrats might not think so, but that's because they're being delusional, not looking at facts, and quite honestly jeopardizing any chance of Democrats taking back the House or the Senate in this next election, because they're being illogical and they're not looking at what the majority of Americans truly want in a president, truly want in their government and their representatives. That's all for today's episode of The Wise Conservative Show. Thank you for tuning in. I'm your host, Connor Wise. You find me on Spreaker.com, YouthRevolt.org, iHeartRadio, TuneIn Radio, iTunes. Go ahead and like my page on Facebook. Just search up The Wise Conservative Show. I'd like to thank you all for tuning in. And as always, God bless.